Hey y'all, welcome back. My name is Susie. If you're new here, I love to go thrift store shopping and I upcycle my thrift store finds that I resell in a booth and online. On my channel, I like to show you guys how I do that. Today's video is going to be a furniture makeover. So I don't do a lot of furniture makeovers, but my furniture hoard is kind of getting out of control. I was given this chair and it's in really good shape. I love the bones of it. I do not, however, like the upholstery at all. And I've been watching lots of videos and seeing some things on Pinterest where people have actually painted upholstery. And I thought that this would be a perfect one to try it out on. So y'all are seeing a first for me. I have never painted upholstery chair before, so I'm gonna give that a shot. There's a few, the chair's in great shape, the upholstery, everything's clean. I've got to do a little bit of repair here. The back's coming off. What I'm going to do is, it looks like it's just pulling right off. I'm going to remove all the staples and just hot glue that back on. And then we're going to get started painting this chair. So before I get started painting, I want to be sure that all these staples are out. They're kind of just falling out and very easy to pull out and remove on the top and the bottom of the back of the chair. So I'm just going to pull them out. The sides are actually nailed in, so those are good. But I'm going to pull all these staples out, and then I'm just going to use my hot glue gun to secure the top and the bottom really well before I get started painting. So I have been watching some videos and reading some blogs about painting fabric, and Fusion Paint actually works really well on fabric. I'm going to use these two fun colors, Renfrew Blue and Azure, and I just thought they were really fun and complemented each other. So you can turn any paint into a fabric paint just by adding some fabric softener. So I'm going to mix. I really didn't measure anything. I just kind of poured them both in and stirred them up, and it makes this really fluffy type mixture. I let it sit for just a few minutes just to make sure that it was the right consistency. And then I took my continuous mister and wet all the fabric that I was going to paint. That just helps the fibers of the fabric open up to accept the paint really well, and having that fabric softener in with the paint will ensure that the fabric stays soft and not crunchy or anything. So I also have a little cup of water that I am dipping my paintbrush into regularly to keep it really wet, and this paint is covering so well, and I'm already loving this color on this chair. So I'm just going to paint up all the fabric and before we move on to the next step. So after I get the first coat of paint onto the fabric, I am going to move on and just go ahead and paint all the wood with this Renfrew Blue too, and let all that dry. And while that dries, I am going to move on to something else. It's me again. I'm just going to cut in here real quick to tell y'all something about having a YouTube channel. If you don't have one, once you get so many followers, you get constant emails from companies wanting you to show their product and review it on your channel. And I probably get 5 or 6 of those a day. Most of the time, I look at the product that they're offering and I'm just really not interested. But every now and then, I'll get one that's something I really need. And why would I turn down something free that I actually need? So I'm gonna, I have a deck box here that was sent to me by Patio Well. And I want to thank them so much for sending me this. I'm going to unbox it and I'm going to put it together and I'm going to show you guys what I'm using it for, which is a pretty big surprise, and I can't wait to show you guys. So let's get this put together and then we're going to take a little trip. So right away when I opened the box and I started getting everything out, I knew this was going to be pretty simple because there was not a giant bag of screws. There were no screws at all. My favorite thing about putting this together is the fact that it really just snaps together. You had to put a little bit of pressure on it, and it wasn't the easiest thing, but it was way easier than putting 100 screws in something, and it was so much easier than I was planning on it being, even with my little assistant jumping all over it as I'm putting it together. So I got it all put together, and then we're gonna finish it up when we get to the lake where we're going. So we are now at Gunnersville Lake, and we have bought a boat, and not just any boat, a boat that has a sleeping quarter and a bathroom and a little kitchenette. So we can come up here on the weekends. It's only about an hour and 10 minutes from the house, but we can come up here on the weekends just to get away, because I'll tell y'all what, if we are at home, we are working, and I was working myself to death, and so was my husband. So we decided to go ahead, bite the bullet. We bought this older boat, and we have really been enjoying it. I'm not going to take y'all inside right now because it is older, so the basement, as I like to call it, needs a lot of updating, and I think that I will do a video on that later on. But the reason that I needed the deck box is because that the boat stays here at this marina all the time. And when we come over and we sleep in it, we need somewhere to put things we've brought or leave things from time to time. So we're going to go on a little boat ride. I'm going to show you some of the lake, and then we're going to show you what we're using the box for. We have a lot of friends up here with us that have boats, and everybody just comes, stays the weekend and hang out together and relax before we get back to our usual weekday duties. Most of them are firemen, like my husband is, so there's always plenty of things to talk about, and we just have a really good time, and I love the nature and the swimming, and this lake is great for fishing. Mason's been doing all kinds of fishing, but this is our little deck box, and it does have the brackets on the side that makes it close and open easy. It doesn't slam, so we can put things to clean the boat, ropes, inner tubes, fans. Just, I mean, it's 100 gallons, so much stuff fits in here, and I'm super happy with this box. Thank you so much, Patio Well. If y'all are looking for something like this, I will put the link to this exact box in the description. So let's get back to the chair now. So after the first coat was completely dried overnight, I came back with a 220 grit sandpaper, and I just sanded over that coat and got another coat on and then sanded again. And I thought, you know what? I've put transfers on fabric. I have put transfers over paint. So why in the world would a transfer not work over painted fabric? So I'm going to give it a shot. And I found this one that had so many beautiful colors in it that went really well with the fun colors. And let me tell you, I had a hard time. And then if I did get it off, it flaked off. And so I ended up having to sand it all down. So I sanded and sanded and sanded, got as much of it off as I possibly could, and then ended up having to do another 2 coats of paint over it because that just did not work. I painted all the wood with the Azure paint, and now I felt like it needed something on the top. This is a stencil from Roycycled, and I'm just going to use the little moth or whatever's there. And this is my first time stenciling on fabric too. So I'm just going to take a, like a hard bristle stencil brush, offload most of the paint onto the paper towel, and then swirl it around. And these stencils actually are very nice. They are thick and they're reusable, and none of the paint whatsoever got up under there, and it turned out really crisp. And I think that was just the perfect addition. If you look really close there, you can see where some of that transfer, I could not get it all off. First I couldn't get it on, and then I couldn't get it off. So now I am just going to heavily distress the wood part with the Azure, and to make the fabric stay soft and fluffy, I'm using some clear wax just over the fabric. I'm going to let it dry, and y'all, I am obsessed with this chair. For my very first time painting upholstery fabric, I think it turned out pretty good, and had I not tried the transfer, I think I would have been a lot happier, because I just really do not like how you can see a little bit of that transfer still on there even after the 2 coats of paint. But most people probably would not even notice it, and I love how this turned out. I took this picture early one morning before I went to work, and y'all, I'm not kidding. I went in and I grabbed this pillow and that candlestick, and the color completely changed once the sun come out just a little bit more. These pictures were actually taken 2 minutes apart from each other. Either one, though, I love, but this is actually more the true color of it rather than that deep blue, and that I like that a lot. I hope this video has inspired you, and if you have an old upholstered chair laying around, don't be afraid to give it some paint to change it completely. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you again next week.